The Mafia boss's mute daughter. Found a dog no one wanted. What happened next shocked everyone. The rain doesn't fall in this city. It arrives, brutal, deliberate, like a debt collector who already knows you can't pay. I know because I was standing in it. 3 a.m, Hunts Point, an alley behind a meatpacking plant that smelled like copper and rot, and I was supposed to be home, safe, behind 12 inches of bulletproof glass and a security detail that would have had a collective aneurysm if they knew where I was. But I'd slipped out through the service exit the way I always did when the silence inside the penthouse pressed too hard against my skull. My name is Serafina Mortara, Sarah to anyone who's ever loved me. I am the only daughter of Don Cassian Mortara, architect of empires, author of Grudges, the most feared man in 5 boroughs. My father collects power the way other men collect watches. He wears it with the same quiet ease. He once ended a 30-year alliance over a single unanswered phone call. He built a waterfront empire from ash and silence, and he has never, not once in 53 years, wept over anything he destroyed. But none of that is what people remember when they hear my name. They remember this. I haven't spoken a word since I was 10 years old. I was there the night it happened. My mother, Valentina Mortara, the most beautiful woman in any room she'd ever entered, answered the door herself because the housekeeper had gone home early. They never found who'd pulled the trigger. My father said Vespera. He's been saying Vespera for 13 years. I was hiding behind the hallway credenza when the shot came. I screamed so hard my throat tore open. And then something inside me sealed shut like a wound that didn't want light. Doctors called it trauma-induced aphonia. My father called me his miracle. He said a silent daughter couldn't accidentally betray the family. He wasn't wrong, but he also wasn't kind. I'd learned to say everything with my hands. Sign language, yes, but also the tilt of a chin, the angle of a shoulder, the temperature of a stare. In a house full of men who lived by reading rooms, I had become the most fluent speaker of all. And tonight, I had read the alley behind the meatpacking plant and heard something it took me a moment to name. A sound. Low. Ragged. Almost not there. Half growl, half surrender. I followed it to the end of a flooded drainage channel, and there, underneath a collapsed chain-link section, was the largest dog I had ever seen. He was a Cane Corso, or what was left of one, black as ink, with one torn ear that folded against his skull like a crumpled letter. The scars on his muzzle were old, pale, layered, the kind that don't come from one fight, but from a life that had been nothing but fighting. He was soaked through. A length of heavy chain still wrapped his throat. The other end was bolted to a concrete block. Someone had left him here deliberately, not forgotten. Left. He snarled when I got close, low and volcanic, a warning with teeth behind it. I crouched in the filthy water, rain hammering my cashmere coat, and I looked him dead in the eyes. He had yellow eyes, amber, really, old gold, the kind of eyes that have seen everything and decided none of it was worth trusting. I know that look. I've worn it for 13 years. I didn't back up. I didn't reach for him. I just held the gaze and waited. Let him read me. Let him decide. My father's men would have told me I was being reckless, that you don't give a damaged animal the chance to choose. You contain it, control it, put it down if it won't comply. But I have never been my father's strategy. The snarl faded. First, the growl dropped out of it. Then the teeth disappeared. Then the dog's massive head, it was the size of a cinder block, dropped slowly, and came to rest against my knee like it weighed nothing, like it had always been meant to rest there. I unclipped the chain with shaking fingers. He didn't move for a long moment, just breathed. Great heaving exhales that rattled through his whole body. Then he pressed harder against me, and I understood. He wasn't leaning, he was holding on. I called him Ombra, shadow, because he appeared from the dark and immediately became mine. I got him into the town car I wasn't supposed to be driving. He lay across the back seat with his head in my lap, dripping and shaking, and I signed the address to the driver with one hand while keeping the other buried in the dog's wet fur. The driver didn't ask questions. Smart man. Back at the penthouse, I hid Ombra in my walk-in closet. For 3 days, I hand-fed him strip steak, cleaned his wounds with supplies I stole from the house medic's kit, and let him sleep across my feet like he was the anchor I hadn't known I needed. He destroyed 2 pairs of Gucci slides and one of my father's reading chairs. I regret nothing. By day 4, he was no longer flinching at sudden sounds. He followed me from room to room like a second shadow. By day 5, he was the only living thing in that penthouse that didn't treat me like a liability. If this already has your heart in its teeth, drop a subscribe. The darkness gets deeper. You should be here for it.
My father found out on a Tuesday. I should have expected it. Don Cassian Mortara had built his empire on information. He knew things before they happened. He knew when his captains were skimming, when his allies were lying, when his enemies were moving. The man had intelligence networks that made federal agencies look like neighborhood watch programs. The idea that an 80-kilo cane corso had been living in his daughter's bedroom for 5 days without his knowledge was, in retrospect, absurd. He walked into my suite at 7 in the morning without knocking. He never knocked. In his mind, every room in the penthouse was his room. We merely occupied them at his pleasure. Ombra came off the bed so fast I barely registered the movement. 1 second the dog was asleep, the next he was between me and my father, every muscle rigid, teeth bared, a sound rolling out of his chest that I felt in my sternum. He was beautiful and terrifying. He was also about to get himself shot. My father had the pistol out before Ombra had finished standing. 45 years of survival instinct. The gun was steady, aimed, and completely businesslike. Don Cassian did not rattle. He never had. I was between them in the same instant. Arms spread, body blocking. Ombra's hot breath on the back of my neck, my father's winter steel eyes on my face. I signed so fast my hands blurred. He is mine. You touch him and I will not forgive you. I mean it. Not this time. Not ever. The room held its breath. My father stared at me for a long moment. I watched something move behind his eyes. Not fear, not surprise. Something older. Something that looked, if you caught it at the right angle, like recognition. Like he was seeing my mother in my jaw and my spine and my refusal to step back. The gun went down. He said, "You have 48 hours to get the animal vetted, vaccinated, and explained." Then he turned and left. I exhaled so hard my legs almost buckled. Ombra pressed against me immediately. Not aggressive, not territorial. Steadying, like he knew. I had the family vet come to the penthouse the following afternoon. Dr. Caruso was 62 and had been patching up both Mortara men and Mortara animals for 2 decades. He'd sutured bullet wounds and set broken fingers without asking a single question. He was, to his core, a professional. He ran the standard intake protocol: weight, reflexes, injury assessment, a general blood panel. And then, almost as an afterthought, the microchip scanner. He passed the wand along Ombra's shoulder once, twice, then stopped. "Sarah?" His voice was careful, the way you carry a glass that's already cracking. "You need to tell your father about this." He turned the scanner screen toward me. The chip was old, buried deep under scar tissue, which was why it had taken 2 passes to read. But it was there, and the registration attached to it was perfectly clear. Registered owner, D. Vespera. Last address filed, a waterfront property in Red Hook. Date of last update, 3 years ago. 3 years. The same month as the dock ambush. The same night my father's men had gone to Red Hook and come back with blood on their clothes and a story about a job finished. The official word was that Dario Vespera, Emilio Vespera's youngest son, his underboss, the man they called Dare, had been killed in the crossfire, presumed dead. The chip said otherwise. Or, the darker thought, the one I couldn't unthink, it said the dog had been abandoned, cut loose, left in an alley by a man who had nothing left and didn't want to be found. I stood very still for a long time after Dr. Caruso left. Ombra sat beside me. His breathing was the only sound in the room. I put my hand on his scarred head and thought about the name on that screen. Vespera, my mother's killers, my father's white whale, the family whose name had been a ghost in this penthouse for 13 years. And the man who had owned this dog, the man whose loss the dog still wore in his body, in every flinch and scar. That man had left him to die. I looked down at Ombra. He looked back at me with his amber eyes, patient as something ancient. Whatever Dario Vespera had been, whatever he'd done, whatever war he'd fought, he'd left this animal behind. And this animal had survived. And found me. That had to mean something. Even if I hadn't yet figured out what.
I told my father. I had to. I'd stood in my bedroom for 2 hours running the calculation every way I could, and every version ended the same. The chip existed. Dr. Caruso knew about it. My father would find out, and if he found out from anyone but me, the fallout would be something I couldn't protect Ombra from. So I went to his study, knocked twice, and stood in front of his desk and signed the whole thing. Slowly, clearly, every word. My father sat so still he looked like a portrait. When I finished, he was quiet for 11 seconds. I counted. Then he said, "Leave the room." I left. The next 6 hours were the quietest I'd ever seen the penthouse become loud. Men moved in and out, doors closed hard, phones were destroyed and replaced. By midnight, I had 3 additional bodyguards stationed outside my suite door, and my father had canceled 2 meetings and relocated them to the building's secure conference room. He thought Dario was alive. He thought the dog was bait. He might not have been wrong. I sat cross-legged on the bed with Ombra's head in my lap, and I thought about that. About what it would take to use a scarred, traumatized dog as a homing device. To cut out his chip to destroy the trail, then leave him somewhere a Mortara might find him. It seemed impossibly elaborate, impossibly cold. The kind of plan that would require you to look at something living and decide it was a tool. I pressed my face into Ombra's neck. He smelled like the medicated shampoo I'd bought him, and underneath it, something warmer. Something that was just him now, just his particular heat. I didn't sleep. At 2 a.m., the sound that woke me wasn't a sound at all. It was an absence of one. Ombra, who had been breathing steady, heavy, went completely still.
Then his tail moved. Once. Not an alert, not a threat response. Something else. Something that lived in muscle memory and moved before the brain could catch up. Recognition. I was at the closet pulling out the first thing I touched, an oversized sweater, bare feet, before I'd consciously decided to move. Some part of me already knew. The chip. The chip had worked both ways. He'd been tracking the signal the whole time, and we'd handed it to him on a plate. The service entrance was at the end of the east corridor. There was a camera there, but I'd noticed 2 weeks ago that it glitched between 1:58 and 2:14 a.m., a firmware issue my father's tech team hadn't gotten around to fixing. I knew because I used that window myself when I went out. I don't know why I walked toward the sound instead of triggering the alarm. Maybe because Ambra was already moving down the hall beside me, not barking, not stiff-legged with aggression, moving the way he moved when it was just us, fluid and certain. Maybe because 13 years of living in a house full of guns had made me very clear on the difference between danger and something else. The man in the service corridor was soaked through, rain dripping from a black coat that hung open over a dark shirt. He was tall, taller than I'd expected, with the kind of frame that took up space without trying. Dark hair pushed back wet from his face. A scar that ran jaw to cheekbone on the left side, livid against skin that was olive, even in the bad corridor light. He had a gun. The safety was on. His knuckles were white around the grip. His eyes, dark, almost black in this light, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with tonight and everything to do with 3 years, were fixed on Ambra. The dog walked to him, not running, not frantic, just walked. Crossed the corridor with his big, deliberate stride and pressed his scarred head against the man's thigh. Dario Vespera looked down at him and went absolutely still. His jaw worked once. His free hand dropped slowly until his fingers found the dog's ear, the torn one, and he held it with a gentleness that didn't belong in the same body as the gun. I stood 6 feet away and watched Dario Vespera, underboss of the family that murdered my mother, crumble just slightly in a service corridor at 2 in the morning, while my dog pressed against him like an apology. Then he looked up and saw me. Whatever he'd expected to find here, I was not it. I watched it move across his face, the calculation he'd had in place all night, the plan, the cold purpose, and I watched it stall. I didn't sign anything. I didn't move. I just held his gaze the way I'd held Ambra's in the alley and waited for him to decide. The gun went into his coat pocket. "You're not going to scream," he said. It wasn't a question. I tapped my throat twice, raised an eyebrow. Something crossed his face that I couldn't read. "Right," he said, quiet as a confession. "I know who you are." Of course he did. I gestured toward my suite. "You can interpret that however you like." He followed me anyway. Ambra chose her, but now his original master is standing in her hallway. Whose side is the dog really on? He sat in the chair by the window, not the destroyed one, the intact wingback in dark leather that had been my mother's reading chair, the only piece of furniture I'd moved from the old brownstone when we relocated to the penthouse. He sat in it like a man who'd forgotten what furniture was for, spine straight, elbows on knees, hands loose between them. The gun was in his coat. The coat was on. He was ready to leave at any moment. He just wasn't leaving yet. Ambra lay at his feet, not between us, not positioning himself as a buffer or a guard. He lay at Dario's feet with his chin on the man's boot, and his amber eyes tracked me as I moved to the window seat across the room. I picked up the notepad I kept on the sill, wrote in large, clear letters, "You were supposed to be dead." Dario read it. The corner of his mouth moved, not quite a smile, not anything that warm. "Yes." I wrote, "Whose idea?" "Mine." He said it without hesitation. "The ambush at Red Hook. Your father's men killed 2 of mine. I got out of the water. I decided the most useful version of Dario Vespera was a dead one." I wrote, "So you've been what? Ghost? Waiting?" "Rebuilding." He said it carefully, measuring the word. "The Vespera family isn't what it was. My father is old and sick, and the men under him have been running their own games for 3 years. I've spent 3 years watching from the outside and building something that doesn't need the Vespera name to function." He looked at me steadily. He had the eyes of someone who had gotten very good at saying only exactly what was necessary. "I came back for the dog," he said. I held up the notepad. "You left him." The stillness that moved through him was different from before, heavier. "I did." I wrote, "He almost died. Animal control had the paperwork for euthanasia." Dario looked at Ambra for a long moment. The dog's tail moved once against the floor. Something in Dario's face shifted. Not guilt exactly, more like the recognition of a debt he'd been carrying for 3 years and hadn't known how to put down. "He shouldn't have survived," he said, and then quieter, "He always did, though." I studied him. This man who was supposed to be dead, who had the scar of a near miss on his jaw and 3 years of careful survival in his posture, and a gentleness in his hands that he was working very hard not to let me see. The question I should have been asking was how to get him out of my suite before my father's security sweep found him. The sweep ran every 3 hours. The next one was at 4 a.m. Instead, I wrote, "What happened to your brother?" The silence that followed was different from all the others. Dario was still, genuinely, completely still, and then he exhaled once, like setting something down. "Marco Vespera." He said the name like he hadn't said it in a long time. "He was 24. He was the better man out of the 2 of us. Everyone knew it. He had a particular talent for making people feel understood." A pause. "Your father's men shot him on the dock at Red Hook. Same night as the ambush. Your father blamed my family for Valentina Mortara's death. We blamed his family for a dozen things before that." His jaw tightened. "It had been going on longer than either of us has been alive. It wasn't about us anymore. It never was." I sat with that for a moment. Then I wrote, "My mother's name. You know it." "I know everything about you, Serafina." He said it without apology, which somehow made it less alarming than it should have been. "You're the silent variable in a very loud equation. The men on both sides of this war have been calculating around you for years." I wrote, "And now?" He looked at me. "Now I'm sitting in your mother's chair at 2 in the morning in my enemy's penthouse because a dog I should have protected decided to come home with you instead of dying in an alley the way I left him to." He stood up, put a hand briefly on Ambra's head. The dog looked up at him with those amber eyes, patient, eternal. "I need to go before the sweep." I was already writing. 3:58 a.m. East corridor glitches until 4:14. You have the window. He read it. Then he read my face. "You're going to let me walk out." I wrote, "Come back tomorrow night. Same window. We're not finished talking." Dario Vespera looked at me for a long time. I watched him calculate the risk and decide it didn't matter. "Don't tell your father," he said. I held up the notepad with 2 words already written. Obviously. He left. I sat in the dark with Ambra's head in my lap until the sweep passed, and I thought about a dead man who wasn't dead and a war that had been eating my family alive since before I could read. And I thought about the fact that for the first time in 13 years, I hadn't been afraid.
He came back. Not just the next night, every night for a week, and then 2 weeks, and then a third, always through the East Corridor, always in the 2 a.m. window, always in that black coat that never seemed to dry. We developed a language, not the signing. He didn't know ASL, and I didn't try to teach him all of it, not yet. We used the notepad first, and then I started typing on my phone and turning the screen toward him. And by the end of the second week, he'd started texting me from a number I didn't have contact for. It just appeared in my messages one night after he'd left. A single line. Saw a dog on 9th Avenue that looked mortified by itself. Thought you should know. I'd stared at that message for a full minute before something cracked open in my chest, and I realized I was smiling. I didn't smile often. It alarmed the guards. Dario talked. Not endlessly. He was economical with words, the way men are who've learned that saying the wrong thing has consequences. But he talked. He told me about the 3 years, the safe houses, the burned phones, the slow, patient work of building a network outside his family's existing structure. He told me about his brother without me asking again. Just pieces that surfaced when he wasn't guarding against them. Marco's voice. The way he'd been able to talk anyone into anything. The particular silence of Red Hook since. I told him things too. Not in words, in what I wrote, in what I showed him. I brought him the rooftop garden one night, unlocking the stairwell access with my override code. He stood among the roses I'd coaxed back from near dead and said nothing for a long time. Just looked at the city lights below us and breathed. You built this, he said. I nodded. In the middle of all of this. He gestured vaguely at the building below, at the machinery of the Mortara Empire, the guards, the guns, the running ledgers of debt and loyalty. You built something just because you wanted it to live. I wrote on my phone. Seemed important to have one thing that wasn't about the war. He read it. Yeah, he said it quietly. Yeah. Umbra moved between us on the rooftop, pressing first against my hip, then against Dario's thigh, then back to me, sharing himself evenly. I loved him so much I could feel it physically. It was on the 4th week that things shifted. Dario had arrived later than usual, close to 3 a.m., which meant he'd either had trouble getting clear or had hesitated. He was quieter than normal when he came through the corridor. I saw it in the set of his jaw and the way he sat with too much distance between himself and the back of the chair. The kind of readiness that comes from an evening spent around people he didn't trust. I poured him water from the carafe on the bedside table. He took it without the usual reflexive deflection he used when I tried to do anything for him. Progress. We sat by the window in the particular comfortable silence we'd built between us over 30 nights, and at some point he said, "My father knows I'm alive." I looked up fast. Someone told him. I don't know who. He turned the glass in his hands. He wants a meeting. He wants me to come back into the fold and take the seat that's waiting for me. He paused. He also wants to know why the Mortara chip pinged their network last month. Umbra's chip. Someone in the Vespera network had caught the scan from Dr. Caruso's office. I wrote, "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. I'm stalling." He looked at me directly. "Sarah, what I'd been building,
It's not an army. It's not a challenge to either family. It's an exit. I've been building a way out of this war that doesn't require anyone to die for it. A pause, heavy and careful. But I can't build it from this side of the wall. And I can't build it fast enough now that my father is looking. I held his gaze, felt the weight of everything he wasn't saying. I reached across and put my hand over his where it held the glass. Not calculated, not strategic, just true. He looked down at my hand. Something in his face got very quiet. "This is not a good idea," he said. I typed on my phone. "I know. I don't think either of us has ever made a good decision in our lives. We're starting now?" He read it. Then he laughed. A real one, low and surprised. The kind that comes out before you can decide if it's safe. It transformed his face entirely. I wanted to keep it, store it somewhere the war couldn't reach it. He turned his hand under mine and held on. Outside, the rain was back. The city glittered below the rooftop garden like scattered promises. Umbra sighed from the floor and went to sleep. Some doors, once you step through them, don't have handles on the other side. I stepped through anyway. The document was in my father's private archive on the 3rd floor. I'd known it existed for years, had heard the name dropped in carefully guarded conversations between my father and Tommaso Falco, his most trusted capo. The Vespera Commission Report. Whatever it contained, men lowered their voices when they referenced it. My father kept the hard copy in a fireproof box behind the secondary wet bar in his private study. The one that looked like a wall panel until you knew exactly where to press. I'd never gone looking for it. I went looking for it on a Thursday morning while my father was in a 6-hour meeting at the waterfront offices. Umbra stood watch at the study door. I'm not being poetic. He literally positioned himself at the threshold, facing the corridor, while I crossed to the false panel and found the box. His body language was the clearest alarm system in the building. The document was 47 pages, handwritten in places, typed in others, with a formal heading from 13 years ago bearing the signatures of 3 men. My father, a neutral arbiter named Conti, who'd since died, and a name I didn't recognize, E. Russo. I sat on the study floor and read all 47 pages. By page 12, I understood what I was looking at. By page 30, I had to set it down and breathe. By page 47, I knew. The Mortara Vespera War had not started because a Vespera bullet killed my mother. The Mortara Vespera War had started 18 months before my mother died, over a shipping contract disputed in bad faith, a dock territory my father had annexed without negotiation, and a retaliatory move the Vespera family had made against a Mortara cargo shipment. Back-channel hostilities. Acceptable losses on both sides. The kind of Cold War that old families conduct for years without ever letting it go hot. My mother's death was not an opening salvo. It was an accident. The report laid it out in clinical detail. A Vespera soldier, acting without authorization, pursuing a Mortara lieutenant through the old Brooklyn brownstone neighborhood, had fired at a target who moved. The target had been my father's head of security. My mother had stepped into the line of sight at precisely the wrong moment. The Vespera family had known within hours. Emilio Vespera had sent a private communication to my father the following morning. The document included a photocopy, expressing something that read, despite everything I'd been told about that family, as genuine horror. He'd offered reparations, a ceasefire. The soldier had already been dealt with internally. My father had received the letter. he had filed it in the archive. And then he had told everyone, including me, including Marco Vespera's little brother, that it had been a deliberate hit. I sat on the study floor for a long time after that. The grief I'd built my entire silent life around had a different shape now. It was still grief. My mother was still dead, and no document changed that. But the architecture of it had shifted. The hatred I'd inherited, the war I'd grown up believing was righteous, the 13 years of Vespera being a curse word in every room I'd ever occupied. All of it had been built on a choice my father made deliberately. He had chosen war. He had chosen to burn the letter. And Marco Vespera had died for a lie. I photographed every page with shaking hands, replaced the document exactly as I'd found it, walked out of the study with Ambra tight against my leg, and went upstairs and sat on the edge of the bed. When Dario came through the service entrance that night, I was already waiting in the corridor. I handed him my phone with the photos already pulled up. He stood in the corridor light and scrolled through them slowly. His face stayed very still. I watched him absorb it the way you watch someone absorb something that restructures everything. His chest wasn't moving right, and his jaw was set at the angle of a man who is not going to let himself react yet, because reacting now would cost him the ability to function. When he reached the last image, the letter from his father, the one that had been answered with silence and then a decade of war, he stopped scrolling. He stood there for a long time. Then he said, very quietly, "He knew." I nodded. "Your father knew, and he..." Dario stopped, looked at the ceiling, back at me. Marco died for a war that was already over. I reached up and put my hand against his jaw, the scarred side. He let me. "We have to end it," I signed slowly, making sure he could follow the shapes, even without knowing the formal vocabulary. End it. He covered my hand with his. "Yes," he said. "But Sarah, your father cannot know we know. Not yet. Not until we have something he can't destroy." I went to the desk and wrote, "I know. I have a plan. But you're going to need to trust me completely." He read it, looked at me for a long moment. "I already do," he said. "That's been the terrifying part." Gon Cassian knew the truth and chose war anyway. Who do you think he's more afraid of? Dario Vespera or his own daughter? The plan had 3 components. First, I needed copies of the commission report filed with the neutral arbitration body that both families had acknowledged in the original agreement, an organization called the Conti Council, which still functioned in theory, operating out of a law office on the Upper West Side. If the photographic evidence I had was backed by institutional record, my father couldn't simply destroy the copies and deny their existence. Second, Dario needed to formally re-emerge, not through his father's network, not through the Vespera name, through the channels he'd been building for 3 years, the independent network that touched both families without belonging to either. He needed to surface as a mediator, not a combatant, a man who had documentation, leverage, and absolutely no interest in continuation. Third, and this was the part that made my hands unsteady when I wrote it on the notepad, I needed to get the evidence in front of Tommaso Falco before my father could move it. Tommaso was my father's most trusted capo. He was also, I believed, the only man in the organization with sufficient loyalty to my father and sufficient personal honor to be troubled by what the document revealed. I had watched Tommaso for 23 years, I had seen him send flowers to the families of men my father ordered killed. I had seen him, once, quietly redirect a punitive instruction away from a civilian target. He was the conscience the Mortara Empire shouldn't have had, kept carefully deniable by my father, because a conscience that belonged to you was more useful than one you had to fight. Tommaso would not destroy evidence once he understood what it meant. That was the theory. The problem arrived before I could execute any of it. Day 35. My father called me to his study at 6 in the evening, which was unusual. Our interactions were mostly functional and scheduled, meals shared in silence, occasional formal appearances. A private summons outside the normal rhythm meant something had changed. He was standing when I came in, not seated, standing at the window, hands behind his back, looking at the Hudson like it owed him something. Ombra came with me. He always came with me now. My father had long since stopped objecting. "Sit down, Serafina." I sat. He turned. His face was unreadable in the way it got when he was performing unreadability, which meant there was something underneath it he didn't want me to see. "Someone has been accessing the East Corridor at night," he said. "Between 1:58 and 2:14. The camera glitch has been there for 6 weeks. It was reported and supposedly patched. But there's a thermal anomaly in the log, body mass inconsistent with staff, twice the size of anyone on the overnight rotation." He looked at me steadily. "I want to know what you're hiding." My heart was performing something athletic. I kept my face neutral. Signed, Ombra gets restless late. I walk him. I knew about the glitch. I used it. He studied me. Alone. I held his gaze. Always. 3 seconds. 5. His eyes moved to Ombra, who was sitting calmly at my knee, perfectly still, giving absolutely nothing away. That dog had survived things that would have broken men. He could manage an interrogation. "I'm putting a guard in the East Corridor," my father said. "Rotating, starting tonight." I nodded, calm, easy. He looked at me for one more moment, the way he'd been looking at me since I was 10 years old, trying to see past the silence to whatever I was keeping behind it. I had gotten very good over 23 years at keeping him out. I went back upstairs and texted Dario immediately. "East Corridor compromised. New guard rotation tonight. Don't come." 3 minutes of silence. Then, "Understood. Are you safe?" I typed, "For now. We're out of time. I'm moving to stage 2 tomorrow." His response took longer. "Sarah, if this goes wrong..." I cut him off. "It won't." Another pause. Then, "You don't know that." I knew. I didn't know. Those two things existed simultaneously in me without contradiction. I typed, "Dario, go to the Conti Council, tonight. File the registration request for the arbitration record. Get the institutional copy logged before my father can interfere. Can you do that by morning?" "Yes." I typed, "Then do it. I'll handle Tommaso tomorrow. We meet at the Conti Council at noon if everything goes right. At the Red Hook waterfront at midnight if it doesn't." There was a longer pause this time. Then, "What happens at midnight at Red Hook if it goes wrong?" I thought about that for a moment. Typed, "We run. Ombra too." A pause that felt like something being decided. Deal. I put my phone face down on the mattress and looked at the ceiling. Ombra climbed onto the bed without permission. He had stopped asking weeks ago, and lay down against my side, warm and heavy and certain. "Okay," I said, out loud. It was the first word I'd spoken in 13 years. I don't think I planned it. I'm not sure I chose it. It was just there, small and rough and real, like something that had been waiting in a locked room and someone had finally turned the key. Ombra lifted his head and looked at me. I looked at him. "Okay," I said again, testing it, finding it still there. Then I went to sleep. Tommaso Falco had a routine. Every morning at 7:45 a.m., he stopped at the same bakery on Mulberry Street and ordered 2 coffees and a sfogliatella. He sat at the corner table for exactly 22 minutes. He did this whether he was heading to a business negotiation or a funeral. Structure, he'd once said, within earshot of a 12-year-old me, is what separates men from savages. I was at the corner table when he arrived. He stopped in the doorway, looked at me, looked at Ombra, who was technically not supposed to be inside any food establishment, but who had the energy of a creature that had never been told no by a building code and did not intend to start. The bakery owner, who had known Tommaso for 20 years and therefore knew every tangential member of the Mortara orbit, simply brought out an extra coffee and a bowl of water. Tommaso sat down across from me. Sera. He was 61, square face, careful eyes, a jaw that had been broken twice and healed with that particular dignity that some breaks have. "This is unexpected." I placed my phone on the table, opened the first photograph. He picked it up, read the first 3 pages, set it down, picked up his coffee, put it down without drinking, picked up the phone again and read the rest in complete silence. He was quiet for a long time after. "Where did you find this?" I typed, "3rd floor study, behind the wet bar panel. You know where." He looked at me for a long moment. "Your father," I typed, "knew, read the letter, filed it, said nothing." 13 years. Tommaso set the phone on the table very carefully, aligned it with the edge. The way you move things when you need your hands to be doing something so that the rest of you can stay still. "Marco Vespera," he said. I watched his face. "I was at Red Hook." His voice was quiet. "I gave the order. Your father told me it was a clean retaliation, that the Vesper family had sent the shooter deliberately. I believed him." His jaw moved. "I killed a 24-year-old man on a lie." He was quiet again. Then, "There are other men, other deaths, things I authorized because I believed in the justification." He looked at his coffee. "It changes the math." I typed, "The Conti Council has the institutional record. A man named Dario Vespera is filing the arbitration registration this morning. If the council receives it, neither family can destroy the paper trail." Tommaso's eyes sharpened. "Dario Vespera is dead." I held his gaze. He looked at Ombra, back at me, and I watched the shape of what he was seeing assemble itself in his expression. The dog, the chip, the corridor glitch, the 35 nights my father's surveillance had caught a heat signature too large to be mine. The pieces arriving in the right order. He said very quietly, "How long?" I typed, 5 weeks. He closed his eyes for one moment, opened them. "Your father is going to..." I typed, "My father is going to sit with the truth for once. That's what I need from you, Tommy. Not cover, not deniability. I need you to be in the room when I show him, and I need you to not let him burn it." He was quiet for a long moment. "You sound like your mother," he said finally. "She used to do this, walk into a room with the one piece of information that moved the mountain, and then look at you like the mountain was the one being unreasonable." I hadn't expected that. Something moved in my throat. He picked up his coffee, drank it, set the cup down precisely. "I'll be there." He paused. And Serafina, the word at noon. I nodded. Make sure Vespera makes it to the council. He stood, adjusted his coat. I'll meet you at the penthouse at 2. Noon came and went. My phone stayed silent for 17 minutes after the hour, long enough that my chest tightened with something cold. Then a single message arrived from Dario's number. Filed. Conti Council has the record. The clerk asked 0 questions. Interesting. I exhaled, typed back, 2 p.m., penthouse. Use the main entrance this time. A pause, then, your father's house, front door. You're serious? I typed, I'm always serious. Come with the scars showing. Another pause, then a single character. Check. My father was in his study at 2 p.m. He was always in his study at 2 p.m. I had texted him at 1:30 to say I needed to speak with him about something important. He'd sent back, my study, 2 o'clock. I'd appreciated the efficiency. I arrived at 1:58 with Ombra. Tommaso was already there, which told me he'd come early, which told me he'd needed the time to compose himself. He stood at the window. My father was behind the desk. They were not speaking, which was unusual. They had the particular silence of 2 men who had known each other too long and were currently avoiding something. My father looked at me, then at Ombra, then at Tommaso. What is this? He said. I sat down across from his desk, placed my phone face up between us, opened the photographs. Sarah? Warning in his voice. I slid the phone toward him. He didn't touch it immediately. He read the screen from a distance, that precise, controlled vision he'd maintained even at 53, silver at the temples and winter steel behind the eyes. And I watched the moment he recognized what he was looking at. He picked up the phone. The room was very quiet for a long time. When he set it down, his face was composed in the way that extreme control composes faces, every muscle doing deliberate work. Where did you find this? I signed, you know where. He looked at Tommaso. Did you know about this? I found out this morning, Tommaso said. Same as you're finding out now. The Conti Council. My father's voice had dropped to something below calm, that register he used when he was containing something that would be catastrophic if it got loose. If an arbitration record has been filed. It has. I typed on my phone and turned the screen. Dario Vespera filed it at noon. The institutional record exists. You cannot destroy it. My father went very still. The door opened behind me. I had not messaged Dario to come up. He had simply come. He walked into the study with his black coat open and his hands visible. A deliberate choice, I understood. And he stopped 2 steps inside the room. He looked at Don Cassian Mortara for the first time. The last time they'd been in proximity, Dario had been in the water at Red Hook with bullets around him. The last time my father had thought about Dario, the man had been a ghost. The ghost was here, in the penthouse, standing in the light with a jaw scar and the particular quality of stillness that comes from having nothing left to lose and then finding, against all probability, something worth protecting. He did not flinch. He did not reach for the gun that I knew from 35 nights he carried. He stood with his hands at his sides and looked at my father the way you look at the end of something. Don Mortara, he said. My father's jaw was stone. I stood up and moved to stand between them, faced my father, signed, not fast, not angry, but precisely and carefully, the way you deliver something irreversible. You read the letter, 13 years ago. You knew what happened to my mother was not deliberate. You chose war anyway. Men died for that choice. Marco Vespera died for that choice. Dario Vespera lost 3 years of his life for that choice. I lost my voice for that choice. And you have carried this in an archive behind a wet bar and let us all burn. My father's eyes had not moved from my hands. I signed the last part slowly. It ends now. The Conti record exists. Tommaso is a witness. Dario's network is independent of the Vespera family structure and has no territorial claims against the Mortara name. There is nothing to fight over. There hasn't been for 13 years. You just chose to keep fighting anyway. Silence. The Hudson was out there somewhere. The city was out there. The whole machine of the Mortara Empire. The docks, the buildings, the ledgers of debt and loyalty. All of it was out there, running, breathing, waiting. And Don Cassian Mortara, the architect, the most feared man in 5 boroughs, looked at his mute daughter and said nothing. What he did, he opened the top drawer of his desk, removed an envelope, placed it on the desk between us, did not explain it. I opened it. It was a letter, handwritten, dated 3 years ago, addressed to Dario Vespera, whose death my father had confirmed on the same night Dario had slipped into the water and disappeared. I read it. Then I passed it to Dario without speaking. He read it once, then again. It was a ceasefire offer, written 3 years ago, never sent because there was, at the time, no one to send it to. My father said, I could not find him. The room held that for a moment. Tommaso, at the window, exhaled slowly. Dario set the letter down, looked at my father. Something moved across his face that was not forgiveness, not yet, and perhaps not ever entirely, but was adjacent to it. The space where war ends and what comes after begins. I'll respond to it now, Dario said. My father nodded once, a single motion, the kind that ends things. The agreement took 3 weeks to formalize. Dario brought in the Conti Council as mediators. Tommaso represented the Mortara interests with a thoroughness that bordered on penance. The Vespera family, Emilio, old and sick and genuinely relieved, I was told, in the way that men who've been waiting for permission to stop fighting feel relieved, ratified it before the month was out. It was not a peace born of affection. It was a peace born of exhaustion and documentation and the particular leverage that truth provides when someone finally bothers to put it in writing. My father and I did not have a dramatic conversation afterward. We had a quiet dinner 2 nights after the meeting in the study, and he told me about my mother's laugh, something I'd been too young to properly store, too young to keep whole. He talked for an hour. I listened. Ombra lay under the table, and we let him. It was the most my father and I had communicated in 13 years. As for Dario, he came through the front entrance after that. The guards had standing orders. My father never acknowledged this arrangement directly, which was the closest Don Cassian Mortara came to giving a blessing. One evening, about a month after the agreement was signed, Dario and I were on the rooftop garden. The roses I'd been nursing were finally, defiantly alive, deep red against the night, which felt appropriate. Ombra was sprawled across both our laps simultaneously, defying physics with the commitment of a creature who has decided to belong to 2 people and intends to make that logistically everyone else's problem. Dario was watching the city. I tapped his arm. Signed. What does this feel like, now that it's done? He thought about it. A real answer, not a quick one. Like coming up for air, he said. Like I forgot what that felt like, and now I'm not sure I remember how to just breathe. I signed, "You'll learn." "Yeah?" I signed, "I did. Took me a while, but I started with one word." He looked at me. He knew about the word. I'd told him. He'd been very quiet about it in a way that meant it had mattered to him. "What was the word?" he asked. I said it out loud. "Okay." My voice was rough and small and inexperienced, like a muscle that hadn't been used in too long. But it was there, real and mine and in the open air. Dario looked at me for a long moment. Something in his face was so open, it was almost painful to see on a man who had kept himself closed for 3 years of survival. He put his arm around me, carefully, the way you hold something you are afraid of breaking, and then, as I leaned in, the way you hold something you've decided to stop being afraid of. Umbra sighed enormously and pressed harder across our laps. Below us, the city moved and breathed. Above us, the stars were there or not there. You can never quite tell in New York. There's always too much light. Out somewhere on the Hudson, things were moving in the dark. Let them. For the first time in 13 years, the silence in me didn't feel like absence. It felt like choice. Comment below. Sarah found her voice, and Dario found a reason to surface. What moment hit you hardest in this story?
And there she is, my darlings. Serafina Mortara, who grew up believing her silence was her father's miracle, who carried 13 years of inherited war in her body like shrapnel, who knelt in a flooded alley and looked into the yellow eyes of an unwanted thing and said, "I see you. I choose you. Come home." A man everyone thought was dead found that she'd kept his dog alive. And somewhere in the keeping, in the hand-fed steak and the rooftop garden and the 35 nights of sign language and notepad conversations and city lights below, he found his way back to living too. Umbra, who began as a weapon and a symbol and a chip buried under scar tissue, became the most honest character in this entire story. He chose her first. He held space for both of them. He refused to belong to the war. Maybe that's the whole lesson. Some things refuse to be casualties. Some doors, once you walk through them, refuse to close behind you. Some silences finally break, and what comes out of them is small and rough and real, and worth every year of waiting. If this story found you, if Sarah found you, leave a comment. Tell me which moment made you feel it. Tell me about the thing you collected when everyone else said it was broken. Tell me about the word you found when you were finally ready to find it. And if you're here, at the end of this, wanting more, a subscribe takes 2 seconds and costs you nothing. It keeps these stories alive. It keeps the lights on in the dark. I'll see you in the next shadow. Sarah sends her love. Umbra sends his weight.